Hello, everybody. I'm Yashawn Pokrell,
My name's Cameron Cummings.
and today we're joined by Aubteen Pour-Biazar, a student at the Honorable Duke University, and much more. Aubteen, you just tell everybody about yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that intro, Ishan. Yeah, I mean, I'm a freshman at Duke, freshman like Cameron and Ishan, first year college students, and I'm interested in politics too. So hopefully we can talk a little bit about recent developments here today.
Yeah, and we're here today after a couple months off. That was just a winter break. Don't worry about it, because we want to talk about the historic Speaker of the House vote, which concluded on Friday night, and just a little bit about what it was, why it's so important, and how it's going to affect the House and just the effectiveness of Congress moving forward. So let's just get right into it, honestly. Speaker of the House, if you don't know, basically runs the House in the sense that they have the gavel, so they can restore order. They're the one recognizing people to, talk. They they have soft or power over like who introduces what, who gets what committees. So it's a very important position. As you know from the midterms, Republicans have a majority in Congress, but it's only by a total of 8 seats, so 222 to 214, and one seat is vacant due to the death of a congressman from Virginia. So this election, normally, I mean, I think every single House election, probably the majority party has won the gavel and has the Speaker of the House. And it seemed to be the case this time too. Representative Kevin McCarthy of California's 20th was elected majority leader in November in a closed Republican vote. He did have opposition then, though. He had Andy Biggs, I think he's representative from Arizona's 5th, run against him. He wasn't close to winning. He only received 31 votes. But after that vote, there was a lot of congressmen and rumors going around that there would be at least 5 to 6 people that would oppose Mr. McCarthy and his bid to be Speaker. And this is normally mainly for personal grievances. So it wasn't much policy in it at first, but it ended up being more personal grievances. And yeah, so that just sets the scene for why this became such a dramatic, at times, election. And what are y'all's thoughts on just like, honestly, the Republican Party moving in seemed a little fractured. So I think that the Speaker election definitely shows that. What are y'all thoughts about how they proceed, just at a broad scale, and like a organizational method moving forward?
I guess I'll just throw in like my first tidbit, um, just to throw out like more information. I guess it's already public knowledge, but it took them about a week and 15 rounds of voting, with about 20 people, about 20 Republicans standing off. Minority Leader Jeffries stood at around 212 the entire time. McCarthy wavered between above or around that number because 20 people were standing off. Several voted present, which means you just don't vote for anyone, or just would call out, as I would say, random people that did not really have a chance. So they would get 4 or 5 votes, which would pull from McCarthy. Um, and in order for that to actually happen, he had to sign away a lot of power. I'm still really reading into what he signed off on. Like, it's the more you read, the deeper it gets. He had to sign off several key positions, key committees that those 20, I guess it's gonna be weird to say like radical, have been just like opposing him on. Gave away those committees as well as certain powers that made sure they still could always have a hand, even though he's a House leader.
Opting.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty good point. I think the group of 20 who were not voting for McCarthy, voting either present or for other members of Congress for Speaker, they are radicals, right? They're members of the House Freedom Caucus, overwhelmingly, to my understanding, all of them, and that's a very conservative, very right-wing group of individuals. The vast majority of them denied the legitimacy of the 2020 election. Many of them are ardent Trump supporters, didn't certify, the 2020 election. And, when the Republican Party has such a narrow majority in the House, as is the case right now, I think it's only a 4 or 5 vote majority. they have to make these sorts of concessions to, have their whole party behind, any piece of legislation moving forward. If even, 5, Republican members of the House vote no for a piece of legislation in the House, it won't pass, right? Unless they get, moderate Democrats to support, which, in the current state of political affairs doesn't happen too often. So, this was really, or it really highlighted how difficult it'll be for the Republican caucus to, get things done without having to make those deals with the, far right Freedom Caucus.
Yeah, and so, yeah, I think, I don't know if every single member, but the majority of members were part of the Freedom Caucus, and I could go through the list. There's 21. I'm not going to, I guess I'll read it out just in case.
Just give us the big names.
All right. The big names, this is the thing, these guys weren't big names for the most part, unless you followed Congress or you watched C-SPAN. So the biggest name, I guess, would be Representative Matt Gaetz from Florida's 1st. He's been the most in the news. I'd say Lauren Boebert, also Representative Lauren Boebert from Colorado's 3rd. Those are the two biggest opposition, and they never cast a vote for Kevin McCarthy. In the end, 14 or 15 of the, because there were 21 people that voted against Mr. McCarthy at various stages. 14 or 15 of them ended up switching their vote. 6 of them did vote present in the last ballot. And voting present, because I know people were confused about this. People were asking me about what does voting present mean, because it's stupid. I mean, it just seems like dumb. So if you have a 434 member Congress, your majority has to be 50 plus 1, so 218 votes. However, if you have 6 people vote present, the threshold for majority drops from 218 to 216, because it'll be like 428 members, or 215, because 428 members are voting. So it's pretty stupid, but it's a smart move from the McCarthy camp in the end to just convince everybody to vote present and not nominate another individual. And we had a lot of nominations for new congressman. Byron Donalds from Florida's 19th. He's a 3-term congressman, but he was nominated for 4 or 5 rounds, and he looked like he wanted to go for it because he was voting for himself. You could see him talking to some people. I don't think he had a shot, but they were nominating him consistently for the 2nd and 3rd day. Representative Jim Jordan, another member of Republican leadership, who was actively voting for Kevin McCarthy while being nominated. He continued getting votes to the last day. Who else? There was some other, like Kevin Hearn, who's the leader of the Republican Study Committee, which I must confess, don't really know what that is, but he was getting votes throughout the week. So yeah, definitely a lot of division. A lot of it was definitely focused on the right side of the party politically, and it'll be interesting. We can go ahead and, and one thing I do want to mention, the Speaker of the House also swears in members and also does all of that stuff. So Congress was not official, like the 118th Congress wasn't official until Friday night when Kevin McCarthy finally got to swear everybody in. So if you've actually tried to contact your congressman or something that's been a little spotty, that might be why. So because there hasn't been an official Congress yet. So, and 15 ballots is the 5th largest vote of all time. Just a little bit of trivia now. The longest ballot.
It hasn't been like a holdout for like 100.
Yeah, it's been 100 years since we went to multiple ballots, I believe, and the longest ballot or longest process was 133, and that was right before the Civil War, so that one was very heated. And yeah, it was in 1856, something like that. It went for 2 months before they could get work done. So that's just setting the background for what just happened. Let's move forward into what does the Republican Party do now? How do you lead? How do you govern maybe one of the most fractured Congresses, from not even just party to party, just within your parties too? The Democrats seem united, which is interesting because they were the ones, you think they normally be the ones that are a little bit more fractured, but the Republicans seem in disarray. So how do you think Kevin McCarthy can proceed? I know he's made a lot of concessions, and we don't even know the full extent yet.
No, and honestly, I don't know how he's going to do it, because you have to look at pretty much metaphorically and literally the people that spit in your face and said, you're never going to get my vote, when some of them verbally said, I will hold out as long as possible. I will keep this going. You're not going to get my vote. I remember tuning in and seeing like bylines of people like quotes of people saying that to them. Eventually, I think he just hit the 218 threshold with, I think,
Yeah, he had 216. He had 216. He didn't even hit 218.
216.
Yeah, not even
voted
because of the
president.
present votes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's right. It's still weird. Still not even gonna find out for, I say, a while till what all the concessions that he had to give up in order for this to actually happen. It's gonna be difficult. We're probably gonna see this happen a lot more with like the division, and especially the Republican Party not really having a good footing, while from what we've seen so far, the Democrats seem extremely more united than they've been publicly for a while. So watching this will not only be interesting, but be difficult, especially since the budget has to get approved pretty soon. So that's going to be another major thing going on.
I think there's going to be like 5 or 6 members of the Democratic caucus that have become the most powerful people in Washington, the way it looks right now. Aubteen, what do you think?
Yeah, and I mean, like Cameron said, we don't know a lot of the concessions that were made by McCarthy to, get the votes to, finally be elected as Speaker. But one of them that we do know, one of the major ones, is that, any one member of the House can, launch the process of ousting the Speaker. And, when it comes to effective governance, letting any single individual have the power to stall voting on a bill to then vote on ousting the Speaker. I mean, that's, something that will, without a doubt, make governing and
come back to bite us.
And yeah, come back to bite us. Exactly. It'll make the House less effective, more slow than it already is, and it's not, the most effective and the most fast process right now as it is. So, I foresee that definitely having, negative ramifications moving forward.
Well,
and I think something else that's, important to remember is that, I've heard from a few people that were like, oh, how have like the new members been able to vote for the Speaker? The newly elected members who didn't previously hold a seat in the House. But it's important to remember that like every single member of the House is a new member. The terms are only 2 years, so all 435 members need to be sworn in, and they're not able to vote on any legislation, committee assignments, any of that until after the Speaker is voted on, and that's why there's such a standstill for multiple days.
I will say, actually, the threshold to oust the Speaker was one until the last couple of Congresses. They upped that, I believe, I don't know what year, but they did up it recently. It's not a... Historically, the number has been 1. So a return to that will be interesting to say. I think this year is going to be more volatile. I think most years it wouldn't be an issue. But especially with this majority, because, I mean, if you have a majority vote, then, you're good. But if it gets to a point where they want to oust the Speaker and you have this happen again, then I don't know. Another thing I kind of want to talk about, and we'll get into this more later too, or we can just get into it now. How does this look optics-wise, and how is this going to play into 2024? Which you'd think, I mean, I think the country's getting better. It's not as bad. Like 2020 to 2022 was a bad stretch, I'd say, economically, financially, everything. I think it's looking up a little bit for most Americans, but Republicans still should be favored to win the presidency. Not only they did barely win a majority in the House, and then they lost the Senate, which is fascinating, but they should. I think they still have the favorability to oust President Biden at this point in the Congress. However, with this vote and just like the perceived ineffectiveness, I've heard a lot of people that don't really follow politics just like talk to me about this and be like, yeah, this is crazy. Why can't they agree and actually try to get work done? And a lot of these people are Republicans, and Republicans have tended to have a reputation of trying to get things done as quickly and straightforwardly, whether you like it or not. I think that's a fair assessment of their reputation around the country. How does this play into their 2024 chances, and just how does this play into really how they're going to be like perceived over the next 2 years and moving forward? And we'll talk about Trump after this. I forgot to mention him, but
yeah.
Well, I mean, it definitely doesn't help their chances. And I think we were saying this, lots of these same things before the midterm elections. The economy isn't great. The price of, lots of basic goods have gone up significantly. But still, the Republicans had a very, very disappointing midterm. They, barely gained control of the House of Representatives and actually lost a seat in the Senate. The Democrats now have 51 seats. And, for a large part, that was because of other contributing factors, such as the overturning of Roe v. Wade, abortion rights, and just a Republican Party that some voters saw as extreme. When I looked at exit polling, that was one of the opinions of lots of voters. And what's in store for the 2024 election? I guess we'll have to wait and see. But this 4-day standstill where the Republican majority couldn't get behind a single candidate after concessions were made, and several days of nothing really being done in the House of Representatives, that surely doesn't help them out.
I agree. Cameron?
Pretty much exactly what Aubteen said. Like, going forward, it's anyone's game. How is it going to go? We don't know. But if what we just witnessed is any sort of prediction of what the future holds, especially with one person standing up if they don't like the way a bill's going, and pretty much derail the entire process for, let's just say this is another week, the exact same period of time it took this one, or 2 weeks, nothing's going to get done. Because all it takes is literally one unruly person that doesn't like the way this is going, doesn't like the way one person voted, stands up and drags everyone down with them. And I don't know. But like I said, if this is any kind of future, it's not a good one.
Yeah, I think the Republicans are severely. They were in such strong position post Roe v. Wade, and they took it the wrong way. I think they should have pivoted another way. They didn't. They went a little bit more extreme than I would have liked them to, and that definitely hurt them. They hurt them in 2022, and this is going to hurt them. Even though this is honestly, I liked the multiple balloting. I think debate is good. The only problem I had with the 20 to 21 members that didn't vote for Representative McCarthy was that they didn't have an actual alternative that they could get behind on every ballot. So they're just throwing, they had Representative Donalds a couple times, and then they switched it back to Hearn or Jordan or what. Even Representative Gates put up Trump once, which was a whole other thing. We'll talk about
which
that.
Was bad.
That speech was so funny. We'll talk about that next. But they weren't coalescing around a candidate legitimately. Byron Donalds is one of the most respected members of the Freedom Caucus, I think, around the House, just in general. But he wasn't gonna win, and if they thought he was gonna win, they should have kept nominating him. And then he eventually bowed out and voted for McCarthy. So I don't think the Republican Party. I don't know. I think this hurts them a lot more than people think. I think the primaries start campaigning is going to start in 4 or 5 months for president. So it's going to be interesting to see what's campaigned on, not on the Republican side. You have to campaign on a message of effectiveness, because you can't. I don't know how you campaign on the Democrats being ineffective when you can just point to the House and be like, "Are you serious? What are you talking about?" Yeah, but. Trump, let's talk about him for a little bit, because he has to be mentioned. He's running for president again. We did our last podcast about that, but he lost so much. He endorsed McCarthy, but it seemed like it was kind of a bid to make him lose. I don't know. It was interesting because he endorsed him before that. It was weird, but like I said, Matt Gaetz voted for Trump. He nominated him once and he voted for him a couple times, but I feel like President Trump's influence in the party, in the House at least, kind of just died away. There was a photo of Lauren Boebert, I think, with President Trump on the phone, and Representative Matt Rosendale from Montana was waving it away. It was pretty. I saw it going around on Twitter, so hopefully it's accurate that I said that. But so President Trump, I think his influence might be fading a little bit, and faster than I expected. What do y'all think about that? And do you guys think he's still... How do you think he's going to approach this speakership issue?
Yeah, I mean, it seems as of now his influence has faded a little bit. After the first few rounds of voting, I think after the third one, after the first day, he endorsed McCarthy, but even still, it didn't shift anybody's votes. He still, I think he actually lost support on the second day. So wasn't able to sway the Freedom Caucus members, and then I think a large part to his loss of support, at least among the establishment, was again the midterm election. The candidates that he backed, across the country, overwhelmingly they failed. They did not, win election. When we look at Georgia with Herschel Walker, when you look at Pennsylvania with Dr. Oz, the governor race in Arizona, lost. And lots of those states, the Republicans should have won. In Georgia, the governor won overwhelmingly, I think by over 10 points. But then when you look at the Senate race, because the Republicans backed such a weak candidate in Herschel Walker, he lost in a state that, is purple, but still, leans red. And same thing in Pennsylvania.
Pretty much jumping off what Aubteen said, he already talked about Georgia, so I'm not going to. Kind of took my point, but I do think President Trump has lost not a lot, but you can tell his influence has dwindled more than I personally thought it would. I thought he would still be kind of like a ringleader in this up until the next election, and we would see him in another race for president, and not dropping out first round, but making a strong push for it. But now that's, I don't know. I can't say if I can truly see that happen. But like I said, the campaign doesn't start for a few months, and when he throws his hat into the ring, we're gonna see how they react, and depending on the reaction, positive or negative, will heavily affect how he goes.
Well, he's already announced. I don't know if you missed. He already announced. Oh wait, yeah, he's already announced for president, but I don't know if you mentioned that, but he's already in the ring. But I think, I don't know. I think this makes it easier for an opposition candidate to come out and be like, no one supports you in Congress anymore. You don't have to have votes in the House of Representatives. Clearly, because like you said, Aubteen, people actually switched their vote from McCarthy on day 2 and day 3. And a lot of those people supported Trump very heavily. Lauren Boebert, Matt Gaetz, those guys supported Trump heavily. Byron Donalds, too. He was a pretty big Trump. But Trump loved him when he was coming up in Florida. So there's a lot of people that just, did not listen to Trump. Trump's not the shadow over their shoulder now, which is, I guess, freeing. I guess it's going to be good, because, people will have, more free thought, hopefully, and won't be deferring to President Trump's wording. But, Democrats don't really defer to President Biden, but that might be because Biden's a weaker character. I don't know. But I think this will be good for an opposition candidate in the Republican Party, whether it be Governor DeSantis or Kemp or, I don't know. I really don't know who could run, but whoever does, I think this makes it a little bit, this gives you a clear, another talking point. I think that would be very beneficial. But enough Trump, because it's not a Trump episode. So after McCarthy was sworn in at 1 a.m. Eastern on Saturday, I guess, morning, he made a speech. He was having fun with it. He was joking around. He seemed pretty in good spirits. I guess he has to be a Speaker of the House. But he will be probably the weakest Speaker of the House in a long time due to so many concessions he made. I mean, I can only imagine how much he had to do to sway people like Matt Gaetz or Lauren Boebert to vote present and lower the threshold, even if they don't vote for him, just to get it done. So the concessions he made are probably insane. I'm sure committee assignments were being handed out at head of committees. Supposedly Matt Gaetz wanted armed forces, which would be bad because Mike Rogers of Alabama, who famously now had that photo of him trying to attack Kevin. I don't know, y'all saw that? The one where he was there was a photo of Mike Rogers kind of lunging at Matt Gaetz.
Yeah,
and
I saw that.
His toupee is crazy. I don't know what that's about. Congressman Rogers, if you see this, come on the podcast and explain your toupee, because that was bad. But or that wig, I don't know what it was. It was bad. But anyways, so he seems to have a very a tough challenge. Not even just with the divided Congress, but having a lot of, most likely, or inevitably having a lot of like House Freedom Caucus members in like important positions in Congress. If Matt Gaetz did get armed forces, Matt Rogers is gonna be mad. So I'm not mad at him because he looked to be chairing. He looked like he'd be the chair at this stage in this Congress. So yeah, no, a lot of that's definitely flying around. But Kevin McCarthy talked a lot about China in his speech. He talked a lot about China, like bringing jobs back from China, which I was a fan of. I guess that's good. All right, it's good for the country, so that would be good. But again, the Congress is very divided, and partisanship is partisanship. It's very heavy in the minds of the members at this point. So, what do you guys think? He mentioned China a lot. He mentioned a lot of stuff about the IRS, like the agents, that they're gonna repeal the funding of the new IRS agents. What did you guys think? Well, how do you guys? I don't know if you guys watched the speech. So, how do you guys think he'll proceed? And do you think he'll be like a successful speaker in his first term? I don't know who gives either.
I mean, I'll jump in. In terms of successful politically, again, going back to that concession of, any one member can initiate proceedings to get rid of the Speaker of the House. It was a thing before, the Democrats had the majority, but, it was used to pursue Speaker Boehner to resign, right? And then, Pelosi and the Democrats raised the bar to, initiate proceedings. And now that it's gone back down, we might see the same thing happen with Speaker McCarthy. And, in terms of, what were some of McCarthy's talking points in that speech, the IRS one kind of worries me a little bit because, there was a Democratic law that increased the number of IRS agents. And in large part, that was due to the fact it was in an effort to reduce, tax evasion among wealthy Americans. There was I forget the exact study, but I'd want to say there was a study by the Congressional Budget Office that basically said, if you increase the funding for the IRS by a certain amount, it'll increase the tax basin by, a greater amount. And, obviously that's good for the American people. If you have, a greater tax basin, the wealthy individuals in this country are actually paying their fair share that can be used for social programs to uplift, the average American, whether that's universal pre-K, whether that's affordable health care. There's a lot that can be done to benefit the average American. And at the end of the day, that's the duty of the House of Representatives and the Senate and Congress and the presidency.
Cam, how do you think how effective do you think McCarthy's going to be in his first term?
I honestly am going to say I do wish that he has a really strong first term as speaker and everything goes smoothly, but I can't confidently say that. Like I said, one person can derail the entirety of Congress. So although he may be doing a good job, he will have a negative light because obviously of the 20 radicals, the Freedom Party. Or anyone just gets upset, they can throw everyone off and derail it, and there's pretty much nothing he can do, and we're back at this standstill again. So he's kind of backed himself into a corner, and power-wise, he also is the weakest that we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be like a everyday occurrence. Someone's gonna just like
I don't think so. But
that would be funny.
The second something major, it's gonna be right in the middle of something major.
I feel like if we had that at Boy State, every single day we'd have our governor try to get ousted. Like every 100%. Day. Yeah, it would be crazy.
I would be leading the charge.
We're not going to be saying names, but I think a lot of people at that convention would be a fan. Maybe. Yes. No disrespect to our governor. I liked him, nice guy. But,
I just thought it would be kind of comical as a bunch of kids doing it.
Yeah. So I don't think that's like a likely outcome. Well, like an everyday occurrence. It might happen. Oh, yeah, Speaker Boehner. That's how he lost power in 2015, whatever year it was. That's how he got ousted from Speaker of the House. That was also a year Kevin McCarthy could have won the speakership, but then he kind of folded. So that's unfortunate for him. But he's got it now. Is there anything else relating to this that there's mention? We got our first press release as a media organization from a congressman. It was Congressman Dale Strong, Alabama's 5th, our home congressman. Shout out to Congressman Strong. He says that he is honored to step into this new role as a member of the House of Representatives and work for North Alabama, and he believes a unified majority is necessary to best serve the American people, and he looks forward to working with his colleagues in Congress to deliver results for the people of North Alabama and focus on the job we sent him to do in Washington. So congratulations to Congressman Strong, who voted for McCarthy 15 times. It's pretty cool to hear him say Kevin McCarthy in his really like southern drawl. That was cool. Congratulations to Congressman Strong. Thank you for sending us a press release. We're getting up there, I guess, now. That's nice to see. But I think that's everything. I'm blanking. I don't think we have anything else. We covered about everything, right? Is there anything you guys want to talk about?
Unless Aubteen or you, Sean, have anything else to add. I think I've said everything I needed or wanted to say.
Yeah. What about Aubteen? What do you think? Are you good?
Yeah, I think we've covered most of the bases. Just that, we've several days of standstill, which hopefully aren't representative of what's in store for the next 2 years of Republican majority in the House.
Yeah, that's about right. I think everybody wants, for the good of the country, to get work done. So if you're a Democrat, if you're Republican, if you're independent, libertarian, whatever, I think it's the best to support Congress. If they can get work done, it's good for everybody. So, or for the majority of people. And again, one last time, if you don't know why this is historic, this is the 5th longest balloting in the House of Representatives out of 118 different votes. So this went to 15 votes. 4 days, the whole country was watching C-SPAN. That was crazy. But now we're back to partisan squabble, most likely. And yeah, thank you guys for coming on. Just wanted to talk about this. Good way to start 2023. It looks like a good year for everybody involved in PB Political. Hopefully for you too as well, Aubteen. If you want to be involved, let me know. You're always welcome.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for having me.
Of course. You guys know where to find us, PB Political AL, pbpolitical.com. That's about everything. We'll be back next week with a special guest, hopefully. But yeah, I'm Ishan Pokrell.
My name's Cameron Cummings.
I am Aubteen Pour-Biazar.
And goodbye.